Hi, I worked a little bit more on my game experiment. Added a little bit of rendering tweaks to discard alpha pixels on the characters. This is just small details. But I also worked on the crowd system. And the crowd system that I use, it's just a basic behavior that I've implemented before called Boids. Boids is like an old algorithm that was developed like in 1986, and it was developed to simulate the flocking behavior of birds. So I had a couple of different procedures in it, and I have them here, some of them. So they had influences that are basically affecting a bunch of these agents. Some of these forces are forces to kind of go into a center of local, like closely related birds, and they also had the behavior to match velocity of the nearby birds, and they also had one to do avoidance. So when you're doing AI, you also want to have a destination target too, so that's also a common thing that you add to Boids. And I also want to clamp it so the velocity doesn't exceed some ridiculous amount. So I put that in, and I added a bunch of these crowd characters. I think it's about 150. They're just walking down the street, and you can see that they're avoiding the player. I have the player as a non-simulated particle or Boid, so they're basically aware of him, or in this case this is a merchant, so it's supposed to be a male character. So they're aware where he is and they can avoid him. I also created a few more of these scanned characters, like the art is mine. I'm no artist, I just drew something quickly and put them in to see variation. It's okay, I'm gonna have more variation. Also added some sorting to the sprites that I'm rendering. I'm probably going to use, I'm currently doing it on the CPU side, but I'm going to move it to the GPU, because I also want to do one thing here with the, as you see, the houses. These sprites are drawn on top, so I also want to have a depth texture for these, so I can actually set them up so that the houses are considered to be in front of all of these characters. There's a similar thing that happens here on in the middle of the on this square. This stockade, or I don't know exactly what it's called, it's probably a stockade. I'm going to be able to go behind this and see the character in between here. So the Boids, I have all the factors set up, but because of the behavior that I want, I don't want them to do the flocking type. If you make the influence to go to the center of the particles or the Boids, they will all kind of congregate, and that's not something you want when you're walking down a street. And matching behavior is something I don't want. I'm currently setting them to the same velocity, but I want to vary these characters to have a difference in velocity. And the moving away factor, currently I have it at 1, and that kind of pushes you away quite a lot. I'm probably going to smoothen it out to something smaller. But the reason I put in Boids for these pedestrians is just there is a fast thing for me to do. I also want to explore some other systems for crowds, and one of them was a recent paper I saw that people have explored on position-based dynamics, and it's a little bit similar to this. You're putting up rules, it's just position-based, so there's the rules are a little bit different, and it's also had some nice effects that I kind of liked, where if the crowd actually kind of congregates, some of the crowd agents can stop and kind of move around, so and they slow down as they congregate. It had a nicer effect than this. The bulking up, I don't really like it. They do avoid, and you can probably tweak it a bit better, like increasing the radius. But this was just the quickest thing to get in, and that's kind of how I work. I kind of want to put in the quickest thing first to kind of test out the effect that I get. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do next. I am interested in doing the depth texture, so I'm probably going to test that. And I also want to try one trick with normal maps to add lighting on these sprites. Currently the lighting is basically baked into the texture, so I want to have something similar to this effect by dynamic. So we'll see how that goes. Thanks, bye.